So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast, where Aston Villa have just beaten Cardiff 2-0 in the FA Cup and have booked their place in the quarterfinals of said FA Cup as well into the next round. And that's really all that matters, as David Dam says there, into the next round, and that's all that matters. Two clinical moments of quality from Asensio, and I was impressed with Garcia. Yeah, that could really sum it up. That's the end of the podcast, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and no, I'm only joking. I enjoyed watching that game. And I enjoyed it for a lot of reasons, because Cardiff played 11 men at the back, and Villa had to try and find a way to break them down. We kind of got in our own way at times, but I liked the way how we stayed patient. I liked how we did break them down for a finish. Now, I would have expected that to happen a bit earlier, but it didn't. British Mick before in the team sheet tantrum had said that it might be 0-0 going into the 88th minute. It was close. 0-0 going into the 68th minute. And ironically enough, we did score again in the 88th minute when Asensio scored his second goal. But it was always going to be difficult when you saw the Cardiff were playing essentially 11 men behind the ball. Villa have come up against that an awful lot in the Unai Emery era. Villa having it's very strange, because Who Scored says Villa only had 68% of possession, but it feels like Villa had about 98% of the possession. So I don't know. I wonder will that update. With that update as we go on with the podcast here, but yeah, look, there was a couple of moments in the first half where you know, obviously that ball that's fizzed across, Rashford can't get his head over it, or can't get his head over the ball, skews off the foot, goes up over the bar. Watkins puts one straight at the goalkeeper, and then has another shot where the goalkeeper makes a brilliant save. Must say that goalkeeper had a really good game, reminiscent of Alex Palmer, who played against us for Ipswich, and another worldly. That keeper made one or two good saves, one or two routine saves. But for somebody who'd only played like 660 minutes or something, I think they mentioned, he looked pretty assured in goals, and dealt with some really, really good shots that we put at him, and then obviously some other ones that were really easy, like McGinn's one in the first half. Rashford had a free kick in the first half that was right down his throat as well, but he made some really good saves. Two of them from Watkins and one from Rashford. That knuckleball he played from. When I just dropped him outside the box, he took one touch on his stride and then bang, and the keeper makes a good save from that as well. But my only criticism, I think, of the first half is we were so dominant, we were so fixated on going down that right hand side. And look, all you had to do was open up Twitter at any stage in the first half and see that Leon Bailey was getting pelters, and you know, I didn't. How am I going to put it? I'm not going to say that I didn't enjoy his performance, but he had me frustrated as well. But I don't think he played badly. I think the two of those can be mutually can happen in not even in a vacuum, but both of those can happen at the same time. He's so left foot dominant. Bailey on that right hand side, he's so left foot dominant that when the ball was coming out to him, he was cutting back on his left side the whole time, and you know, people were getting frustrated with that. And I can see that, because we were relying on Garcia to cross that ball in. But so, as I say, I was frustrated with him at times, but I don't think he had a bad game. So I know that's a bit oxymoronical like myself, but it is that's the kind of the way I felt about him. And he played 90 minutes, and you know, good to get 90 minutes in his legs, because we're going to need him over the course of the season. Or the rest of the season, should I say. But the moments of quality throughout the game, I think, came from Asensio. Definite man of the match. The two goals he scored were two class goals. Specifically, the first one where he kind of goes back against the grain of where the keep. You know, you think you might bend that one around the defender into the corner. He goes back against it and tucks it in on the near side, let's call it. Really quality finish. Really quality finish. And I was very impressed with him. I was impressed with him in the first half. He chased back. He won a couple of, he was winning the ball high up. His press was really good. He had a splendid touch at one stage. The ball was dropped down out of the sky. He took it in his stride and with a touch at the same time. And I can't remember how that one ended up. I think it might have, I can't remember how it ended up, but Jesus, he had some really great touches. The man is really classy. He's really classy. But going back to what I was saying about Bailey, and we seem to be very fixated on going down that right-hand side. One of the reasons, and why I said I was kind of frustrated with Bailey, is not really because of Bailey. It was because Rashford was redundant for a good part of that first half. And, we needed to find a way to get him into the game a small bit more, but we were fixated. It was like as if the field was tilted and the ball was just rolling to our right-hand side the whole time. And we needed to kind of go down that left-hand side. And maybe the reason for attacking from the right was to get Rashford in a back post situation like he had, the one where he scuffed it over the bar. But I don't know. But overall, I think that Aston Villa were never in any danger of losing that game. I saw a couple of things on Twitter that I thought were, but put it this way, I didn't share the same sentiment as them. That Cardiff looked dangerous every time they went forward. I don't think that at all. They brought in that big lump, the guy that they signed in January, and he just tried to bulldoze through people. And I must say, massive credit to Lamar Bogard. One time he got fouled. That was the time that Konza went down, and it looked like Konza might have had a serious injury, but he got back up and he played on. And then the second time, Bogard was able to hold him off. And my unsung hero for the game today, because obviously we didn't need to do an awful lot of defending, was Lamar Bogard. I thought he was really good today. I thought he was good in possession, and obviously they had withdrawn so much for most of the game that centre halves could have looked like, all centre halves looked like they were really comfortable with the ball at their feet. But I thought he was really good. I thought Bogard was really good in there, and justified his selection, and justified the fate that Unai Emery is putting him for tonight. And that's a good problem to have going forward, because when Pau's available, when Mings is available, when Disasi's there, what's our bench going to look like? And the fact, as I've said before, that Lamar Bogard is a Swiss Army knife. He plays in three positions. You mightn't agree with him playing right back, but he does play in three positions. And I think that can only be beneficial for him and for the team. And I actually I would like the club to extend him, and so that we can kind of hold on to players of his ilk, players that are growing into the ethos of Unai Emery. Like, he's been brought up under the shadow of Unai Emery over the last 2.5 years. That's been huge for his development, absolutely huge for his development. And we always talk about spending money, and I'm not getting out over my skis on this. He might not turn out to be a brilliant player, but he's had a really good night tonight. But it's by extending players like him that potentially you don't need to go out and drop 25 million, 30 million on Disasi in the summer, and then that's 30 million you can spend somewhere else. So some of the silver linings, I suppose, is we're getting to test out what he's like. We're getting to test out what Garcia is like. I would say with great gusto and certainty that Andres Garcia would not be getting the run in the team he's getting, only for the fact of injuries at the moment. And we're reaping the rewards, because he's the next man I want to get onto. He's so assured. He made that mistake against Liverpool, but he's an impressive young man. That's what I would say. That's how I would describe him. The way he holds himself in the field, the way that he's so combative, and he's strong. He's really strong. That's one thing that's I suppose maybe Matty Cash doesn't have, is the upper body strength that Garcia does have. And, when he gets down that right-hand side, as I said, he was our outlet for crossing the ball, because Bailey was cutting in and he's left the whole time, and the ball had to come out to Garcia. Now, am I a massive fan of crossing the ball as many times as we do in games? I'm not. But, it creates consternation. You had one great cross that was cut out by a Cardiff defender, but it was right in that corridor of uncertainty, and it's exactly where you want somebody to cross the ball. So, and we're not even scratching the surface on what Andres Garcia could be. So an incredibly as I say, yeah, incredibly impressive young man, and incredibly. It's funny because I've read an awful lot about him since. I've spoken to a lot of Levante fans actually since he signed. A lot of them have got, because we had the Segunda show podcast on, and they spoke to us, and a lot of Levante fans, they're doing pretty well in their league as well. I think they're in 6th or 7th position, and they listened to that podcast. A lot of them have reached out to me and basically have said to me that, like, Garcia is a student of the game. I know that gets thrown around a lot, but what better way to be if you're playing under a professor of the game like Unai Emery than to be somebody like Andres Garcia, who just wants to soak up all the information he can and wants to learn from everybody that he comes across. So look, good characters like that, he's beginning to show it. He's stepped up to Premier League football, albeit we're playing against championship football today. And I think, it's those kind of signings that are going to save us money into the future, which is incredible, which would be incredible. And while I'm not writing them into the Hall of Fame and saying that they need a bust outside the whole end or anything like that, that they don't need their bust carved into granite and left outside the whole end. Yes, it's extremely promising from those two young men in Bogart and Garcia. And look, as I say, more power to them. We all want them to succeed. One of the areas I was a bit, and this isn't. I'm going to give some context afterwards, but I won't say I was a bit disappointed with it, but in the first half specifically, it was a bit slow. I thought it was McGinn and Tielemans. They've played a lot of football recently. I know Boubacar Kamara was back in the bench. I'm glad he didn't come off the bench. I'd like to see Onana get back on grass again, and it looks like Ross Barkley might even be in the travelling party for Bruges on during the week. That would be a real good shot in the arm for our midfield, because I think the two of those guys, I think they began to look a small bit tired. But they still played well. Tielemans was still pulling the strings. He was everywhere. McGinn was still at his arse rolling best. But as I say, I thought they looked tired against Palace. I thought in the first half today that they just looked a small bit sloppy at times. But look, no criticisms from them. Both of them were great professionals. I thought McGinn was probably the better of the two. But yeah, and I think that as I said, I don't think either of them played particularly poorly. It's just commentary on, where we've often spoke about, a centre half being the injury position, or the problem area from injuries. The centre midfield, you need to have legs that you can bring in there, and we haven't had it the last few weeks. And Boubacar being back, and hopefully Ross Barkley comes in there to just help those guys, because they're carrying the team on their back in a lot of ways. Specifically, Tielemans being an ever present, and of course John McGinn will never let the side down from the point of view of his work rate as well. That's and look, as I say, there's not really much more kind of to go through with regards to this game. I'm going to come to your comments now in a moment. It was good to see Jim Oloba get off the bench. Or the commentator had one go at saying his name, Jamaldeen Jimamama, I think is the way he said it. He didn't exactly get his teeth in time to be able to say the name, but he came on. It was good to see him come on. He got a few touches of the ball, nearly set up Rodgers, or he was involved in the move that where Rodgers put the ball over late on. So well done to that young man, making an appearance in the FA Cup, and hopefully goes on to bigger and better things. Hopefully he's an important player for us into the future. Maybe gets more game time under his belt, because as I say, we all should want our academy prospects to turn into the next best thing. So very proud moment for him as well. But yeah, apart from that, looking at the Cardiff team, I will say I was very impressed with Ruben Colwell in midfield. Only 22 years of age, has played an absolute boatload of football at 22 years of age. Boatload of it. Just thought he was a good player. I thought he was, and the commentators mentioned, he was everywhere. He was very, I'm going to call it John McGinn-esque, the way he got around the field, and I thought he was an impressive player. Liked the look of him, and as I say, he must have. Geez, I was only looking him up as we were watching the game, and I think I counted something like he's about 120 appearances made at the age of 22. So he probably has a decent future ahead of him in the game as well. And nice to see El Ghazi back, in Villa Park as well. And I'm just looking at the screen here, I'm seeing him signing El Ghazi jerseys for Villa fans as well. So nice moment for him. Very, very nice moment for him as well. And he didn't spare the horses out there. You know, he was the one who was trying to break the lines, trying to run off the shoulder, and got in past Dean Matson in the first half. Matson hit him a dunt of a shoulder in the box. Definitely wasn't a penalty, but you know, he was looking to get in behind Matson at every opportunity. And I must say, actually, you know what, for somebody who's been critical of Matson, not critical, but as expected more of Matson, I thought defensively today, coming up against two pretty good players in El Ghazi and NG, you know, I thought he played pretty well. I thought, and they did. They tried to go over his head all the time because he's not the biggest man. I thought he played well, but then again, I expect him to play well. And yeah, I can't have any criticisms of him. He got forward when he needed to. He got inverted at times in that second half as well. I noticed, to allow Rashford to hug the touchline and hug and be as wide as he possibly could. Is that in the first half or was that in the second half? It was actually in the first half where he started to kind of come inside a small bit, and you know, I have to say, played pretty decent as well. Look, when you own the ball as we did, and when you have that expectation and you're trying to play that ball around in front of 11 men, I would expect there to be a lot of decent performances out there. It would have been nicer if we were able to take control of the game a small bit earlier, but they all count, and 2-0 is 2-0, and we're on and into the second round. I'm going to come to some of your comments there. Oh, gibbers, there's a ton of them. So John Griffin says, decent performance, kept the ball better against the low block, not as many bad touches and loose passes. I absolutely agree, John, on that. Actually, just one little thing. There was a couple of missed steps from set pieces. I don't know if you guys remember that. Remember in the first half when we lined up in that I formation, that singular line, and Bailey breaks off and Rashford plays it past him. Bailey almost runs past the ball. It was like as if he didn't really know what he was doing. Like there's instances like that you could see that we were breaking out the kind of the playbook in that instance. There was another set piece routine I remember as well that didn't exactly go to plan. It was the one, actually, it was a corner that came to Rashford at the edge of the box, actually, and he fresh aired it as well. So, you know, we were trying out a couple of things from set pieces. Will we see them again against Bruce? I doubt it. Maybe we might see that singular line formation again, but you know, it's nice to try those things again, because we've been good from set pieces this year, and we've actually reused set piece routines with different people running to that front post. We've gotten some goals from that as well. So just interesting to see if we're going to freshen it up from a set piece point of view. But I agree with you, John. That less loose passes, like we had 94% pass success rate as well, which was great to see. Melty Shirts is calling his next child Asensio, whether it's a boy or a girl, it doesn't matter. Barry says Bogart is getting better and better. Absolutely. And Andy says he did well as well. And Nigel says unsung heroes. So we're all on the same page with regards to that one. Absolutely. I thought, as I say, he is, I thought he was really good tonight. Yeah, I thought he was really assured. And you know, for a guy that's only playing his second competitive game at centre half, third maybe competitive game at centre half, I think he can be really, really proud of himself, and we can look forward to it. And guess what? Did you know they said it in the commentary, and I never knew this? Did you know he's Winston Bogart's nephew? Never knew that. Never knew it. News to me. And the sarcasm is seeping through the microphone as we speak. Sorat says we don't score enough goals. I start to worry for Rashford. I think his confidence will dissipate and his contribution lessen. At least in Asensio Villa as one player who knows how to finish. If you have the lot of numbers for this week, would be great as well. Look, I don't know. As I say, I don't think Rashford's confidence could have dissipated at any time over the last 10 years or 8 years being at Aston Villa. You know, we could very well be here at the end of the season saying he hasn't scored, but I don't know. I'm not somebody I think he's enough of a professional. He's been through enough to miss a ball at the back post like that and to be able to come back from it. But we will see. You could be proven right as well. As I say, it's as valid. You have a valid point that you say that he could very much lose confidence if he doesn't start to score soon. And as I mentioned previously, I would like to get him more into the game. He was out on that left hand side, and he was hugging it he was very, very wide. for a lot of the first half. And I very much so would have liked to have seen him come in. But yeah, he could do with a goal. I agree with you. He could do with a goal for sure. David Dams, I actually completely forgot we had a clean sheet. Completely forgot we had a clean sheet. Even though I'm looking at it right here. Yeah, they're like hen's teeth around Villa Park, clean sheets. Banger says Bogart never looked in trouble at any time. Good performance by him. It goes out saying Asensio was again fantastic. I think so. That's true. Kevin Murray says if we 10 Garcias, we'd have won handy. I'm just really impressed by his professionalism and his maturity. I really, really am. But that was I remember. I think Lee Dixon said that as well. Yeah, that Asensio didn't touch the ball, but yeah, you tell me here his goal was his 48th touch. I'll take your word for it, but I thought that he was involved in the game quite a lot in the first half as well. I did kind of recoil at that statement they said on the commentary as well. Where else are we? Brendan Miller says wasn't very tidy and a bit meh to watch at times. Never really looked in danger of conceding, which is a nice change. Exactly, and I think with the 11 that were behind the ball, I think that's very much that's going to be the case. You're going to have to try and maybe force passes that you didn't want to force, but when there was nothing coming back at us, it was quite comfortable. And thankfully, as I say, that the back four didn't look complacent at any stage. We didn't really let them in behind us at all. At any stage, so that's good. Where else are we here with your guys' comments? And Paul Miller says great results, just wish we'd move the ball a bit quicker against the low block. Yeah, I suppose I agree. I do too, and I think that was part of my frustration with the fact we're always going right. It allowed them to set up pretty quickly, pretty easily, or pretty standardly, I suppose, to kind of keep us to keep us at bay down there. And Giles and Fish rode that side, and Colwell was helping them towards that side as well. So they weren't exactly. We weren't exactly playing it around there trying to find the guy who couldn't play football. The three of those look very, very competent players for sure. And I'm kind of with you as well, but I think there was an awful lot of just move them around, keep them away from the ball, and try and tire them out and see what happens. But yeah, I agree, moving it a bit quicker. But then again, when you've 11 behind the ball and you're trying to play in the one half with 21 players, because Martinez was back home actually in our half, moving it quickly. The triangles aren't there that we used to have last year with Douglas Luiz, or that sometimes we have with Morgan Rogers. And I think potentially it could have been that a lack of a Morgan Rogers there potentially could have been the reason for that, because for all the great that Asensio did in this game, playing the ball into his feet and him getting turned and driving forward with the ball from a central position, we've got one real player who can do that, and not many players in the bloody league can do it, to be honest with you. But Morgan Rogers is so good at that. So maybe if you have a situation like that, Morgan Rogers is playing a bit more centrally, maybe we can move it a small bit quicker in triangle formations, but we really needed to go wide. Plus they were playing 3 at the back. Ramsey was almost slotting in there. Times they were playing nearly 6 at the back as well. So yeah, but I do agree with you. Maybe trying to go a bit quicker to go over the defense. Maybe there's a couple of times we tried that ball. Actually, I mentioned where the ball went to Asensio and he took it down in his stride with his touch and went forward with it. I thought that was quite impressive, but we went early. We went over the defence early. And for his first goal, Tielemans goes over the defence. Defence has to get turned. Rashford was in no danger of being offside. He gets to the ball, crosses that ball back in, and Asensio scores. And I suppose really with Rashford and his confidence as well, if he keeps on assisting, that's for him, he can be very, very happy with his day's work. Because what is he now? 3 assists in the last 2 games. Asensio, or 3 assists in the last 3 games, and Asensio has 4 goals in the last 3 games as well. So they keep doing what they're doing. And I've no harm, I've no I can't remember. My brain has gone to mush. I've no shame in saying I think that Marcus Rashford will score. You know what? Let's say he's going to score against Bruges during the week. Hopefully he does. It'd be great for him. Be absolutely great, because I think he deserves a goal. He's been really, really creative for us since he's come in as well. Where are we going? To here, a couple of people saying shame that Malin wasn't available. I agree too. I think this will be a very good game for him. If he had a dose of the kind of the flu that's going around at the moment, I can understand he won't be right for Bruges. He mightn't even be right for the Bruges away game. It's a fucking nasty dose that lasts for about 3 weeks. So hopefully he doesn't have any hopefully he doesn't have anything like that. Where else are we? I'm going to scroll down through here. Where else we? David Dam says, I think if the right offer came in, I'd be happy to say Bailey moved on and replaced. Love the guy and want him to do well, but he's had one great season, not finding any consistency for so long. Don't really want to get into kind of the squad rebuilding or the squad trading, I suppose, at this stage in the season so far, because we've got so much football to play, and he's going to have a say in the football that we play from here on out. But potentially I could see even a situation where maybe Bailey himself wants to move on. Specifically if we keep on recruiting in those areas, he's not going to want to be second, third choice there. So look, there's times that clubs outgrow players and players outgrow clubs as well, and we won't get into the conversation about it as well, but I'm hoping down the stretch that Leon Bailey comes up big for us, scores a couple of goals, assists a couple of goals, and it has an effect like he did last season. It would be great to see, but as I say, he's I think his future with the club will very much be dictated by will very much be dictated by the by the incomings that we would have in that position. Where else are we here? British Mick says, right game to play Emmy. He'd have had harder training sessions. I didn't have a whole pile to do. Staying warm would have been the toughest gig for him as well. Where else are we? I'm going to scroll right down here, guys. Apologies if I'm missing anybody's comments there as well. And look, as I said as well, MD, Bailey played well today. It wasn't the day to drag him. Like, as I say, I was frustrated in the first half with him, but I also thought he played well. So, like, I was able to hold both those thoughts at the same time. And I think the frustration came from, as I said, their slow, ponderous build-up, the fact that we were very much favouring that right-hand side, and I really wanted to get Rashford into the game as well. So, look, these are the games for him to play 90 minutes in, and to get his confidence back up, and to get back up to match fitness as well, because he's had quite a time out as well, with niggly injuries over the course of the season too. So fair play to him as well. Unai Emery says, I still feel we should be much better. Rodgers so quiet. You think we lack a real big leader? Well, Rodgers only played 9 minutes, so and we were 2-0 up at that stage. And I don't think anybody wanted to be flaking around the field and getting injured, I suppose, within those last 9 minutes. So, but do we miss a big leader? I'm saying that for the last 3 years. Yeah, I do think we're missing guts and glory leader in the field. I'm happy with John McGinn as captain. Don't get me wrong on that. But I've been beating the drum for definitely 2 years anyway, that a very much a kind of a guts and glory, not even guts and glory. I'm not talking like a Vinnie Jones type, but you guys know I've verbalized it a couple of times before, that a leader in the field there somewhere in the pitch, I think is needed. And I think, to be honest with you, it could be a really big catalyst for kicking us onto the next level, because every great team has had a great leader. And while John McGinn is very good, having that extra presence in there, I think is beneficial. I'm not trying to bin off John McGinn. I just think that we do need extra presence, extra leadership within the squad itself as well. So that's never a bad thing to have as well. Where else are we? Scrolling down here. Sorry there, guys. Woodsock says, we did enough. Let's realize who are playing home draw needed next round. if we was away tonight, could have been another story. I genuinely don't think if this is away tonight, it would have been another story. I think Omar Rizzo would have set his team up the same way. He's worried about the league, 19th position in the league. And I think we would have gone out with more or less the same team. I know a lot has been made about home and aways, and people are right to do that. We're on our biggest home non-losing streak since, I can't remember what date they said. It was something like 1982, potentially. I don't know. But yeah, we're going to have to win away at some stage. We're getting to the business part of the season. But I think the way that game today went, I don't think Cardiff would have set up much differently, even if they're playing at home, because of the crop of players that they put out, number one, and secondly, the way that Omar Rizzo spoke before the game. But you are right to be concerned about our away form, because it's been non-existent all season for sure. Absolutely. Right, a couple of more, and then I'm going to get out of here. Bob Henry says, per AVFC Stato, Marcus Rashford created 6 chances for Aston Villa tonight against Cardiff. That equals the most he ever created in any of his 426 matches for Manchester United. And I still thought that still thought they needed to get him into the game more. Imagine how much he would have created then. But that's an incredible statistic. Incredible statistic. Absolutely incredible. Jeez, genuinely, that's mad, considering how many chances United have created, and still even continue to create even when they're playing poorly. That's a whopper of a statistic as well. So Steve Hughes says, Cardiff packed the bus. We should score a lot more. When they award man of the match, the Cardiff goalkeeper, that says a lot. Well done, Villa. Concentrate in Champions League. Now, to be honest with you, they only, Lee Dixon awarded it to the goalkeeper, and I suppose he probably deserved it, because he was the person who worked hardest tonight. So fair play to him. And as I say, he came in for an injured goalkeeper, hasn't had a lot of minutes this season or in his career. I don't think, I can't remember what they said, whether they said he'd only 660 minutes this season or 660 minutes in his career. Jeez, I can't remember. I would imagine it was this season, but well done to him. He played absolutely brilliantly. He didn't really put a foot wrong, although he did nearly pass the ball directly to Ollie Watkins, and Ollie Watkins got foot to it and nearly cut out a pass that went to Aaron Ramsey at one stage. Aaron Ramsey can still play football as well. I'm a sucker for all that stuff. Somebody who's 39 has had the injuries that he's had, and being deployed in that deeper role. Thought he was good today, and when he went off, they'd struggled to keep hold of the ball as well. I think it was Jermaine Robertson came on for him. Didn't play particularly well at all, but interesting to see to see Aaron Ramsey adapting to that new position as well. Where else are we? So Mike Warmball, last word was Marlon. Marlon is sick. He's ill at the moment, and that's why he didn't come on against Crystal Palace as well. So one last one. I'm just going to scroll down here and take it at random. Maybe there isn't one. There's a lot of conversations down. If I was picking a comment here, I might be getting involved in a conversation with two people and taking it out of context. So I'm being mindful of that. So as well. Listen, do you know what? I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Thanks a million though for all your interaction. Really enjoyed that. And I love the fact that you guys have conversations and debates in the chat as well. That's really healthy to have. Obviously never taken into the personal realm or anything like that, but debate and conversation and discourse is exactly what all this is for. It's supposed to be cathartic in times when we lose. It's supposed to be exhilarating in times when we win. And this is as much for you guys to chat as it is for me to pontificate and give a sermon here from behind my microphone as well. So thank you so much for all your interaction. It makes it an awful lot easier to do this single person podcast here as well when I have your interaction. So I really, really appreciate it. And on that note, I am going to leave you guys to the rest of your Friday afternoon or evening or night or whatever time it is wherever you are in this beautiful little marble stuck somewhere in space that they call Earth. We will be back with a preview. I do apologize, we didn't get to a preview for this, just been busy the last couple of days, but we will be back with a preview of the Bruges game. I'm sure Sir Patrick will be back for that in the coming days, and obviously Team Sheet Tantrums and post-match podcasts after that, and hopefully we'll be celebrating then as well. But thanks a million for your time tonight, and thanks a million for always giving me the time and the interaction that you do. We will be back very, very soon, and in the meantime, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.